Hey guys, this is the face. People coming in. Okay, hey guys, very excited to be here. This is the first Facebook Live that I do, so that I hope I don't mess up. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 tips for me to get super sharp photos for fast-moving wildlife. Hey guys, welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tin Man Lee. So you all know I'm super passionate about wildlife photography, and my dream is to bring all the beauty of nature to the world. And I'm very fortunate to win the grand prize of Nature's Best Win and Smith Prize in 2013. So without further ado, let's begin. I actually have some notes for today. So recently there are lots of great big announcement of new cameras coming out, right? So you all heard about the Canon R5, right? So anybody here who are Canon users, type in the comment, just type Canon if I can see it. And so it is a crazy camera with some amazing specs, as I can see there. Like it can take 20 frames per second and 60 megapixel or 50 megapixels. This is really impressive. And also the Canon 1DX Mark III just came out, and some of my friends are already using it, and they said the autofocus is crazy good. And how many frames per second? I think it's like 16 or 20 frames per second as well. And then for any Nikon user here, so let me just show it to you. So this is my Nikon here. So I just hug it so that I feel more comfortable for my first talk. So for Nikon, it is coming out with the D6, and I am a little bit disappointed because it only has 20 megapixel, while the D850 that I have right here has 45 megapixels. So not too impressed with Nikon. And also Sony the 8.9 Mark II has again also can take 20 frames per second. So it's really crazy nowadays with all these good cameras coming out, and so it increases a lot of our opportunity to take super sharp, fast action photos. So today I'm going to keep it very short, with just about 15 minutes, to give you some tips that I have to take super sharp photos. So the first tip, so let's get back to about 10 years ago. I want to talk to you about the traditional method that a lot of people have been using. So any of you who are into wildlife photography read the classic photography book by for example, Moose Peterson, Tim Fitzharris, and John Shaw? If you can type yes here. I don't know if anybody read these books anymore. So they were all classic wildlife photography books, which you can still buy it from Amazon. And those are classic books if you want to get into wildlife photography. And I remember back in the days, I would go into coffee shops to read them every day, and then I recite all the techniques. And the number one technique that those books teach us is because why not, we have to take these cameras, these long lenses, right? So this one that I'm holding is a 402.8 lens. It's very heavy, right? As you can see, it's big and heavy. So the first tip that these gurus taught us is to first invest in a very good support for the camera system. And for support, what I mean is to have a very sturdy tripod. So I did a lot of research to get the best tripod that I can get. So typically the best ones are by Gitzo and by Really Right Stuff. And so what I use is right here. Let me see. Okay. So what I use is this one, which is a Really Right Stuff TVC 33. Anybody here using the Really Right Stuff or the Gitzo? Let me know. So this is if you can see, this is very thick foam that helps me to put it on my shoulder to protect my shoulder when I carry it. So you see how big this is, right? But it's very lightweight, as you can see. I can hold it in one hand. So this is a carbon fiber tripod right here. So and then this is called a Wimberley hat, where you can put the camera and lens on here. So all these books, right? All these books, they talk about first invest in this kind of tripod, and so this kind of tripod is super expensive. This tripod without the head is about $1,000, and this head is another what, $400-500. So this just the tripod and the head is already $1,500. And all right, so let me just okay, so it's still going on. Okay, so so just the tripod is $1,500, right? But I'm very happy because this is what the gurus taught me, right? Get the tripod and then go to the field, right? So in my first trip, that was in 2011, I went to Yellowstone, and it was in May. So the weather could be very unpredictable in May. Anybody here have been to Yellowstone in May? So you can go there. One day it would be snowing, and the next day it would be all sunny. So I remember the first day when I arrived at the park, it snowed all of a sudden. So so snowfall, heavy snowfall, and all. And we were driving in a big van, and all of a sudden our guide said that, hey, there's a grizzly bear. And so very excited, right? This is probably my very first sighting of a grizzly bear. So the cars pulled over on the side of the road, and then we all jump out, and we were looking at like, where is the bear? And then they said, oh, it's a little bit on the slope right there. It's not too far away, maybe 100 yards or something. And there are some trees, and then you can see that the whole slope was white because of the snow. And then you see a bear just walking in heavy snowfall. It's just a very beautiful scene. So I was like, yes, this is it, right? So I'm very excited. So hey Joanne, hey Mike, we're glad to see you guys here. So so I'm very excited, and I so what I did was I went to the back of the trunk and then get the tripod, right? So I used my left hand to carry the tripod like that, and then I used my right hand to I hope I don't get a back pain. And then I used my right hand to carry this, and then I just do this, and then I was running on the snow and then trying to get in a good position to get the shot, right? So what happened was that, so once I saw the bear, I put the tripod down, right? So this is what you do, right? So you have to loosen this feet to get the leg out, right? So I set out my tripod, and I did it very quickly, right? I put the tripod out, I set all the legs and put it there, and then what I did is, and then I put my lens right here onto the tripod right there, right? So it also took a little bit of time, maybe a few seconds. So after I set all this up and I looked up again, I couldn't see the bear. So I asked the guy, where's the bear? And he said, it's gone. So basically the 10-15 seconds it took me to open the tripod and set up the camera, the animal has already been gone. So I was haunted by that. And indeed, in the last 10 years, I have never seen another encounter. I have never had another encounter of a bear walking in heavy snowfall. So that's how painful it was that I completely missed the shot, right? Okay. So what I mean by that is, so I was in the van for the next few days, very frustrated, right? Is that like, this is not right. Maybe this tripod is not really doing its job. So 5 days later, our van stopped at a place where we saw a herd of bison. So anybody here have been to Yellowstone? So you know that the first time you saw bison, you got super excited, right? You went out, you take a lot of photos, you took hundreds or thousands of photos of bison. But by the 5th day, you probably are so tired and sick of bison that you would really think twice before you even go out to take photos of bison, right? So that happened to us exactly. So we looked out from the car window and looked at that group of bison. There are some babies and all, but the light wasn't ideal, and so a lot of us decided not to go out. But for me, is that this is my once a lifetime opportunity to be in Yellowstone, so I still insisted to go out. And once I got out, I saw that there are some little birds flying around near the bison, and the bison was grazing. It's nothing really interesting, but when I saw that there is a little bird that was on the ground, and then there's one bison that was grazing the grass, but is walking towards this direction, I thought, this is very interesting. But this time, I'm not going to bring my tripod. So what happened was that I left the tripod in the trunk, and I just hand carry this camera and lens. And I slowly got to a good position. And this time I saw that in order to get a clear separation of the background with the bird, I have to get down. So I kneel down on the ground, and then I use my knee as the support, like a human tripod, right? And then I set my angle right here. Just do it like this. And then I just zoom, I just focus on the bird. And as the bison got closer and closer, I knew that something is gonna happen. So I just got ready with a very awkward position, awkward pose, right? You know, kneeling and then like this. And then the other people in the van also saw that now. And then they are slowly getting out of the car, and then they are carrying their tripod, and then they were setting up the tripod and trying to find a spot. But the whole time I was already there, like kneeling down, waiting for that moment, right? And when all of a sudden the bison had the tongue out, almost touching the bird, I just like do this, and turn out that the bird was able to escape the touch of the tongue of the bison in the last minute, but the bird fluffed the feather, and then the bill opened a little bit before it flew out. And the whole scene, I got it, and my heart was pounding when I got the photo. And I don't know if a lot of you have seen that photo. So let me see it. I think it's right here. So anybody, you guys have seen my my calendar right here, right? So that's the photo right here. So I don't know if you can see clearly right here. So this is the bison, and then I'll post the picture later in the post. But as you can see, the tongue of the bison actually stick out, and then you see a nice separation with the background, and the bird actually, the bill actually open a little bit, right? So you see that. So I got that photo. And when I got the photo, everybody were asking me, what did we miss? Because they were still busy opening the tripod. And I got the shot. And later, that photo actually won the highly honored award in Nature's Best Winland Smith Rice. So it's just a very common subject, a bison, right? Just grazing and all. But because of the action that you can get within the quickly, you get into the position, so you can get the photo. So this is really the first and second tip altogether, which is and the third tip. So the first tip is if not necessary, you can skip the tripod. And it's not that those gurus were wrong when they mentioned in the classical books about you have to have a good support. But those books, think about it, those books were written 20 years ago. And in 20 years ago, people were still using Fuji Velvia. Anybody knows what is Fuji Velvia? So that's the film days, and Fuji Velvia is ISO 50, right? So in order to get a sharp shot, you have to have a very stable support, really, to allow certain shutter speed. So at that time, it's actually not possible to use high ISO without a lot of noise. And the second thing was that in those days, the ISO performance was not very good. Like above ISO 400, it will be super noisy. But nowadays, in ISO 800 or 1600, it's completely usable. And I have photos that won awards and being sold that was shot at ISO 3200 and 6400. And in those days, that's not possible. That's why the gurus were not wrong. It's just that the time of our life is different now. So there are a lot of possibilities, but we should not follow what the guru was teaching us. So that's number one tips. Just don't follow what the guru has told you. And then the second thing is, unless it's really, really necessary. For example, if you are wading in the water or you are doing slow exposure, you can skip this one. Because for the bison photo, I was using a shutter speed of 1600 of a second. So even if you're hand holding it or putting on a tripod, it doesn't really make a difference in terms of the sharpness there. So that's the second tip. And then the third tip is, in order to got a really sharp shot, if you kneel down, for example, instead of putting the tripod up, and then if you see a nice background, right, but it's actually lower, you have to lower yourself, you have to completely adjust all the three legs and do all this, and then you're gonna miss the shot, because we are doing wildlife photography, and for wildlife they never wait for us to. We can't ask them to say, hey bison, wait a little bit before you stick your tongue out so that I can adjust my tripod leg and all. No, wildlife never wait for us. And indeed, in my last 10 years of taking photos, all the time the best moments happen when you least expect it. So it's never like you can set up your tripod and wait and good stuff is gonna happen. So by me getting ready, getting a kneel down and get in a nice position because of a good separation of the background. So the camera is very quick to snap the focus. So the photo would be a lot sharper if you're shooting downwards with a tripod there, because the background will be a lot closer, because the background will be the grass if you're shooting down. But if you are eye level with the bird, then the background would be some distant grass or distant trees. So that distance create a blur, a bokeh, right? That's what we call. And with that, the cam is much easier for the camera to snatch on the focus, and the photo would be a lot sharper because the camera is not going to make a lot of mistakes on that. So these are my 3 techniques, right? One, don't listen to the gurus, right? Even if you read those books, right, you don't listen to them. Second is don't use the tripod. And the third one is always look for a nice background when you take the photo. Okay, so that's my my tip on that. And let's see what. So it's perfect. It's only 15 minutes. So so if you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll try to answer it. This is gonna be a Facebook Live, but there will be a replay button afterwards so that you can listen to what I talk about again. But yeah, so I'm still waiting again for my grizzly encounter where the grizzly is walking in falling snow. But this time, I'm not gonna use a tripod. So yeah, thank you all for your attending. And if you have any questions, let me know by typing in the in the comment box. See if you have share your experience if you have used tripod, and if not, what are your challenges and all. Just let me know, and I will try to answer it offline or in the next few minutes. All right? Okay. Thank you so much. Let me see. Okay. So finding owls, that's a good question. So in order to find out, so actually I'm gonna give another talk maybe in a day or two, which is completely about my experience on how to find animals, right? Are you excited on that? Yeah, because I can't really answer you on this, because for owls, it's very challenging indeed, because actually, before I started wildlife photography, I've never even seen a wild owl in my whole life. But once I know how to find them, and the season, the tips from my friends, and all the hot spots, then it's not about just finding an owl, right, Jordan? The question you asked me, because I have found some owls in my life, some of you may have found some great horned owl, for example, like the place you live, right? At night, if you walk around, you heard the hooting sound, right, of the great horned owls, and then you can see them. But most of the time, they were sleeping in the daytime, and they were hiding in leaves and tall trees, and you're basically shooting up, right? Shooting up, looking at the bottom, right? So these, even if you find the owls, you're not gonna get a good photos or a so-called award-winning photos, right? So those are good to look at and good to see, but those are one of you guys actually gave me a very good phrase about so he asked me, hey Tinman, can you show us some award-winning places? And I was laughing, which is actually very true, because in order to find a good animal, we shouldn't talk about just finding the animals, because a lot of the places is good for animal sighting, but it's really bad for photography. And I have written a blog about what photographers are from Mars and birders are from Venus. That's share my frustration about going into finding owls. But stay tuned, Jordan. I'm gonna give a talk about finding animals, and a lot of you actually mentioned to me that you can't find time to take photos, because I mean, I understand you guys, and me too, right? like full-time job and family obligations, and sometimes we are bothered by our health and everything. So how do we find the time to look for the animals? Is also another very critical thing to talk about. So I'm going to talk about it. Stay tuned for the next few days. I'm going to dedicate another Facebook Live to talk about that, if you're interested. But drop me an email at tinmanly@gmail.com if you want me to share with you. Ask me more about your specific questions, okay? Let me see. Okay. So Barbara, for tigers, it's very difficult to get a sighting. So you have to get like this Facebook Live is actually, you should really remember that is always get ready, because the tiger is gonna show up any seconds, and it's only gonna last for a few seconds, and then maybe only one split second that the background would be usable. I have so many good photos of tigers from my trip last year. What good photo means good encounter, like really great interactions, amazing cubs and playing and all the stuff like that. But I got zero photo that is usable just because the background was too distracting. So think about it, distracting background is really critical. And I would advise you, if you can prepare for this one, the 402.8 would be the most powerful lens for India, I think, because a lot of the time you're shooting in the forest, very low light, and you need every ounce of the capability to do autofocus on that. But shoot me an email with more questions too. Yeah, I know it might not be a good answer if you only have a few weeks to prepare, but this is a lens that will change your game in India. Okay. So Betsy, you asked about monopod. So monopod is how do I say it? I have a love-hate relationship with monopod. So for monopod, it is actually better than tripod, I think, because for tripod, the only good thing is to use it for slow motion video, which I have posted a lot of videos lately for videos, and you need a tripod for that. But for other stuff, it's just way too bulky. Think about it, like it is lightweight in a sense because it's carbon fiber, but just imagine carrying this extra weight if you have to hike up a mountain. Every step gonna be super painful after a while, and it's gonna slow you down, and you never want anything to slow you down when you are trying to keep up with a wild animal. So you have to get to the lightest setup possible. So for monopod is very useful, but you have to get the right monopod hat, which I have it. Go to tinmanly.com/gear, and I have a link for the monopod and the monopod hat that you should get. It helps a little bit for the monopod, but to be frank, in the heat of the action, you just won't have time to adjust anything. So for example, you have your monopod right here, right? And you see that if you raise the camera maybe 2 inches higher, the background would be perfect. So what do? You have to hold your camera with your monopod off the ground to take that photo. And imagine the extra weight you have to support with that, because you wouldn't have time to release the monopod from your camera and all this. So at the end, it really adds up to that. And I probably will do a few more Facebook Live in the next week or two to talk more about that. So today is just kind of like an intro to all the fast action photography and stuff. But this is one of the critical lessons about that, because for me, coming from a Chinese culture, we tend to really listen to what the teachers and gurus teach us, and you think that those were never to be violated. And so after I read that, I just can't remember how many days I have been reading on forums and all to find the best tripod, right? The Giso 3500 series, the TVC 40 series, 30 series. Oh my God, I am so familiar with that. The best hat and everything. But then I look back into my last 10 years of photography, all the most critical photos that I got that maybe I would be able to sell for over $3,000 each, or those that win awards. none of them were taken with a tripod. So, so anyway, but I'll talk to you more about that, okay? So Marzio, welcome. I saw you today on the friend's request, and also I'm glad that you are able to make it. So 505.6, my God, I'm actually going to dedicate another Facebook Live to talk just about that. But I would highly recommend it. But there are also something that just in one sentence. I have used it to take photo of some puffin in flight, and I was blown away by the quality of it. So basically the sharpness, the details of the feather and everything, compared with my 600 f4, I don't see any difference in terms of the sharpness. And then the autofocus speed might not be as quick as a 600 f4 because those big lenses like this. I gotta show it to you because I'm gonna use it to do some exercise too. So this big lens, they have some very powerful motor in the lens so that it can drive the thing faster. But the problem is that you are much slower to maneuver these big lenses, right? Just to grab it, and you get a back pain, and then when you roll it out, and then you get finger ache and all. But with a 5.6, you are so much quicker, so you actually compensate for the slower AF speed of the lens because you're getting yourself into position much quicker. And indeed, what I'm teaching today is really I forgot to mention that actually. The reason I mentioned about all these new cameras in the beginning is not to say that, hey, you guys should get the best camera because it's so fast and all. But a lot of people miss the big picture. I kept talking now. Okay, so I'll finish it in 3 minutes, okay? So, because I don't want, I treasure your time here. The main reason I mentioned about those cameras that can take, 20 frames per second and all, is that people tend to miss the big picture in that they get the best cameras, right? The Sony A9 Mark II, the 1DX Mark III, the D6, right? They go into the field and then they carry this big tripod. And by the time they set up, no matter how quick they can, right? Like if they practice enough, they can set up they just, what they do is they attach the lens onto the tripod. And what they do is they put the lens, they put the tripod onto the ground, spread the tripod leg and then put it there. And then they start to shoot, right? But that process of doing this and swinging the lens, assume that they can do it in 3 seconds, right? But if I'm using hand holding techniques, right? I would be taking 60 photos if the camera can take 20 frames per second, right? So by the time they set up, they put the tripod down, I already have 60 photos of a once-a-lifetime animal encounter. And remember the bear that ran away, the grizzly bear that I talked to you? If I was using hand holding, I would have gotten 60 photos before they can put the tripod out, and then they would get 0 photo at the end, even if they have the best camera. But with a correct technique and correct planning, you can get 60 more photos. And just think about it. You spend, what, $6,000 to spend 10 days in Yellowstone with all the air flight and car rental and everything. And you come home with 0 photo of a grizzly bear in the snow, compared to 60 photos with all kind of nice backgrounds and everything. And so I hope you would think about my advice today about this crazy thing about going against all the gurus of not using a tripod, right? Okay. All right. But guys, do remind me in our Facebook group, the award-winning wildlife photographers group, about what we talk about. And because sometimes I'm absent-minded, I forgot what I want to do it. And bring up the questions too, if you have any questions in the group. Because see, I started this group, not that I want it to be another group like NANPA, North American Nature Photographer Group, or other groups where people post photos every day and then they get the likes, they get the comments. And it's very nice to do that, to share the photos. But I want this group to be more about educational, more about our struggle and how we resolve it. So I'm going to do a lot more of this kind of Facebook Live. This is the first time I do it, so hopefully I don't I don't mess up too much, but this is what I hope that we can interact more about the techniques and share our techniques and stuff. And indeed, I have encountered so many obstacles. I swear to you, I spent a whole year to master my techniques of getting the tripod set up, balancing the lens with the Wimberley head, and getting quickly on how to use the tripod and the big lens to focus and all. And then I realized that I don't need to do that. And if I don't do it, I get much more shots, much better shots, right? So I want to share a lot of those mistakes with you so that you don't make the same mistakes, and then you can go and get the best photos that you are capable of, right? All right. So let me see what time it is. Okay, it's 5:30. We are already 15 minutes over time. I hope you guys enjoy it. Definitely share with your friends and ask them to join this group if you feel that it is useful. Hey Anne, I'm so glad you can join. Yeah, we have a lot to catch up on that. Yeah, I'm having fun too because I haven't. See, the thing is, I haven't really take out the camera for a long time, so this actually gives me a chance to hold it, to feel it, right? So that my camera is not getting mad at me. All right, so thank you very much. Oh, so Alice have one more question. How about blurring and using bokeh with background? So this is actually one of the questions that that Barbara asked about India. And in India, a lot the habitat, there's a lot of tall grass and all. And you sometimes bokeh or bokeh, I don't know how to spell it. This long lens 2.8 f4 is critical, very critical, in getting a background that is not distracting. Because I'm gonna talk more about the background too. But background makes or breaks an image. So instead of focusing on the interaction of animals, the first thing you should do is really actually to focus on the background. And God, I have so many to talk about. So maybe I'll do a Facebook live on that. So we are fully booked this next few days, right? A 2.8 lens definitely helps, but sometimes the 2.8 lens, it has such a shallow depth of view that if you focus on the eyelash of the tiger, the eye would be out of focus, which is pretty cool, right? But you have to be careful on that too. And then of course the background is pretty amazing if you use that. All right, so thank you all. I hope to see you guys next time. I'm gonna send out more reminders next time, and I'm having fun, and I hope you guys have fun too. All right, okay, see you guys.